I don't grind. I hate that word grind. Get up and grind. It sounds so gross. I flow. I let it happen. And when I just let it happen, like jumping in the lazy river and moving along, it appeared to me and it became very obvious. Clark, you're a servant leader. You're meant to help these guys because they look at you, they see you, and don't have an agenda attached to it. Trust the process and it'll work.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Mentors Collective. On this episode, I've got a really special guest for you that I think you guys are going to enjoy. He's been on the cover of over 130 fitness publications as a personal trainer. He is one of the OG fitness entrepreneurs, trainers, and we're going to really just get into a super casual conversation about something that I absolutely love to talk about, which is fitness, health optimization, and entrepreneurship all at the same time. So without further ado, welcome to Mentors Collective, Clark Bartram.
What is going on, man? I'm excited to be here, Jay. You know, I got to ask you one question, though, leading into this. You say we have a very special guest. You say that about all the guests, man. Come on, let's be honest. Because every guest is special, I get it. But I'm excited to be here.
You're extra special, but you're absolutely right. Anyone who I will have on this show, I hope is special in some way or another, or they wouldn't be here talking and giving back to the audience here. But honestly, I'm super excited about this one. I'm in the fitness and health space myself. This is something I'm super passionate about. So really excited to get into it and deliver some value for anyone who's listening. And obviously, this is something that overlaps across every single realm of, business life. There's not one person who can't benefit from learning something new about health optimization, whatever that might be, whatever stage you are in your life, whatever gender you are, whatever age you are. And for those listening, if you could take even one thing away from this episode that's going to help you live a happier, healthier life, stay tuned, because I know Clark's going to deliver some huge value here. So with that being said, Clark, why don't you just start off introducing yourself and some of the background, some of the stuff that you've done. Who are you to be talking on this subject?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because I think it's important that we vet people out before we just blindly listen to them for whatever information they're bringing to us. And I know you're an entrepreneurial coach and you speak to mainly people who are in that space. And it's important to vet those people out as well. Like, who are we hearing from? Whose advice is it? So I've been in, like you said, the health and fitness industry for a better part of 3 decades. And it all started, like most of us, as just part of who I was. I was an athletic kid growing up. I joined the Marine Corps because I wanted the toughest thing out there that I could find to challenge myself. So at the age of 17, I joined the Marine Corps. And that's kind of where my fitness career started, was when most guys would sleep at lunchtime, I was getting up and running and doing pull-ups and push-ups. I would just do this little pyramid thing where I'd do 20 pull-ups, 20 push-ups, and work my way down. And the CO, the commanding officer, came to me. We had 2 guys who were getting ready to be kicked out because they didn't meet the height weight requirement. And he asked me, he said, "Hey, Bartram, will you get these guys in shape?" And I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I knew I enjoyed it and I knew I liked working with people. So I just grabbed these guys and we just moved, right? We just started moving more than they were moving and not sleeping after lunch and just making some really subtle changes. And they lost the weight and they were able to stay in. Then from there, I got out and I needed a job. And honestly, the only job I could find was a trainer at a local fitness club. It was 24-hour fitness back then. I'm sorry, it was Family Fitness, which is now 24-hour. And I worked my way through the system. I started bodybuilding. And then when I was in bodybuilding, I'm like, look, I could be on these magazine covers. I know I can. So got into that. That led into TV. TV led into movies. All of that platform gave me an opportunity to speak to people. So I realized I needed to educate myself. And the best education, in my opinion, for me was just real world experience, like working with people one-on-one. I get the whole book thing and all that, and I appreciate that. But my experience is just being in the trenches and trying things on myself, having to be in shape for 30 years to be on covers. I was just on a cover last month. So at the age of 57, I'm still doing it. I'm not a guy who did do it. And I think that's important as well, to get someone who's actually living and breathing that lifestyle as opposed to just representing what it could be because they have a knowledge base that they got a few years back and they're just living off of that. So in a nutshell, that's who Clark Bartram is.
I couldn't agree with you more. And for those of you who are listening and not watching, Clark is 57 years old. You look great, brother. Absolutely great. So I couldn't agree more with what you said. You really have to vet who you're talking to, who you're taking advice from, because a lot of people are just regurgitating things that they're listening to and watching, and not in the trenches, like you said, doing it day in and day out, experimenting on yourself, being a human guinea pig, and then working with other people to try and replicate what you already know works on yourself, and see if you can, make that and translate that into somebody else's results. So absolutely. And with that being said, let's just get into this conversation about, fitness and health. So you were in the Marines. Obviously you've done a lot of specific things that have worked for you for optimizing your own health. Let's just kind of start there. Like, what are some things that you've realized over the years have been your savior to keep your body in shape, keep your mind in shape, and some things that you've been able to replicate? Like, what's your secret, brother?
Yeah, well, if you ask anyone, you go to all these thought leaders and people who have done a lot of this work, and typically it's the people who are regurgitating information they've heard. They'll tell you, you have to find your why. Now, I get that. I understand that. But at some point, that just becomes something that people say, like, find your why. So I was one of those guys years ago. I was buying into all of this, like, just say what that guy said because he's really smart. And it wasn't being authentic. It wasn't coming from me. It wasn't a real question that I had. It was something that I just knew I needed to say because it made me sound smart. So I really dove into that a lot, right? Like, I was giving people these really deep reasons. Why should you work out? Why should you work on your mindset? Why should you be very aware of that today is the only day that really matters? And then I started telling people, I'm like, look, man, your why is the fact that you get to walk in a human body. It's the most amazing organism on the known universe, man. Like, right here, you got one life. I'm so into that concept. I had someone paint this for me. So it's a constant reminder of me that, look, we should be eating right. And it's not about being a bodybuilder or eating just broccoli and white fish and doing 2 hours of cardio a day. People need to find what's sustainable for them, because this is not some sprint. It's truly a marathon type of approach. And if we approach it with the fact that we've got one life, man, it's your privilege, it's your honor, it's your duty, it's your responsibility. You're a steward of the most precious freaking resource on planet Earth. Why wouldn't you? This morning I was doing a live for my group and I was quoting, you might not even know who this person is, but Jack LaLanne was the fitness pioneer. You can look him up. He was the guy. He was the first one on TV talking about health and fitness way back in the 50s. He was a friend of mine. But I remember we were sitting there one day and he looked at me and said, Clark, you know what's so amazing about humans is they have dogs, and they would never get up in the morning and give their dog a cigarette and a shot of alcohol and a donut. Ever. They would never even think about it. But we don't think twice about it for ourselves. And look, and I'm no more less guilty than anyone else. I've done all of these things. I still indulge in fun like that occasionally, but I realize the balance for my life. And that's what people need to do, is understand that there's a balance. Even in business, Jay, you know this, right? We can go overboard. We can just obsess over things, and we can just not really be a person who does business sustainably. And that's important in fitness and in life, is like having a sustainable approach to what you do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. And I was a practicing medical doctor for a while, and talking to my patients about the specific thing. And you hear a lot of doctors who are clearly not taking care of themselves, and ones that I worked alongside and saw their diets and saw their exercise regimens and habits, and would go in to speak with a patient who was clearly obese and diabetic, and try to, give them advice about weight loss and health. And to be like, yeah, you got to exercise, eat your greens, lose weight. And it's just, it's really important to think about sustainability, what you just said. I mean, the most important thing is your habits, what you do day in and day out. And like you said, I mean, business is the same thing. I've worked at levels that are unsustainable, and you need to figure out what you're able to do over a long period of time. And for me, and I have people ask me about health and dieting too. They're like, oh, people who have never had a diet in their life try to ask me about how to start a keto diet. And that's just ridiculous to me. You need to start somewhere, and you work your way up and find something that's going to work for you over the long run. So for someone who's listening, who is just trying to take the first steps, into figuring out what those routines are going to be for them, what do you think is a good place to start?
What I like for people to do is write it down. You being an educated guy, having studied medicine, I'm not sure where you went to school. Where did you go to school?
Toro College of Medicine in New York City, osteopathic school.
Okay. All right, great. So you understand these research the research evidence that's out
Yes.
there. There's research that's been done that has proven that if you just write down on a piece of paper like this with a pen what you eat for a day. Like I usually ask my people who come and train with me in person, and I don't take many, but I say write down for 2 days exactly everything that goes in your mouth. And I do it for a few different reasons. And I'm suggesting that anyone listening right now who's looking to slowly work their way into a routine, which is probably too late because everyone's already jumped in because it's January 1st past. But if you write it down, you're going to see what it is you're consuming when oftentimes we don't see it because we're blindly doing it, watching TV, eating chips, and you eat way more than you realize because it's just this kind of meditation that you get into. It really becomes that, and you get lost in it. So if you write it down, then you're like, whoa, I had no idea I ate a bag of chips. Now you can adjust that. And the next recommendation would be just to adjust it, right? Don't cut everything out. Don't make this instant change. Don't watch somebody on Instagram and go, I'm going to do what they're doing, and this is the time. It's a recipe for failure every time. It needs to be slowly worked into, because the opposite is true as well. If someone's trying to lose 50 pounds, how long did it take them? 5, 6 years to gain slowly 50 pounds? But our Western culture makes people think about this the wrong way. We want stuff now. We're not approaching it the right way. I teach 5 lifestyle principles to my people that I think are vitally important to success.
5 lifestyle principles. I'm going to go ahead and dive deep into that one. Can you give us a basic overview of what those are and what they mean?
Yeah, so it's mindset, meals, movement, community, and supplementation. And over the years, I've shifted those because, like you've probably heard people say, well, nutrition is the single most important factor in getting in great shape. Well, I understand that thought, but if you don't have your mind set to apply those nutritional needs that you have just recently learned about, like you mentioned keto, like if you're going to do a keto diet, if you're not prepared mentally and emotionally and spiritually even to do this, you're not going to stick with it. So I don't care if you do it for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. Eventually, it's going to end because you only convinced yourself or suffered through it long enough to get to the end. Like, I'm going to make it to October 1st, whether it's just the wrong energy to carry into this. So if you wake up and adjust your schedule to accommodate that morning time that we're all in agreement about, right? I don't even like to call them thought leaders, because a thought is only as good as the action that's taken. Like, I'm an action leader. I like to give people action items. Forget thinking about it. Let's do it, So we get up in the morning and we just do some things that are very simple, because time is our most precious commodity. So you got mindset, then meals. Right now, once we get the mindset on point, you go in and you find a sustainable meal program. And I just believe, honestly, Jay, that so many people buy into what they see. And we can segue into business after this, because I think it's important that we talk about that. So then movement. Movement is definitely a part of it. We're living in a day and age where gyms aren't open. So people are asking themselves, what do I do? I can't exercise. Are you kidding me? All both of us need to do is stand up and sit down. I've got a phenomenon right now on TikTok, of all places. It's called 3 moves, 3 minutes. I could show you, the amount of people that are on there saying, this is the greatest thing. It's what I needed. I woke up this morning sore. I didn't know that 3 moves in 3 minutes could change me that much. I could feel it. It's amazing what the human body will adapt to. And then community. Community is vitally important. I've got a growing community of men over the age of 50 that I coach absolutely free. I charge them nothing. And getting in a supportive, like-minded community is vital for success. And then supplementation. I always tell my people, I need you to be an educated consumer. And this is a great segue into, the business part of it with fitness aspect, is that there are people in business, and you know this as well as I do, who will spend more money on ad copy than they will on an actual program that works, or the support of that program. They'll sit down in boardrooms and they'll hire expensive copywriters, and they'll spend close to $100,000 in some cases to write the words on a VSL or some sort of landing page that is meant to get that person to buy. And I've heard every justification in the world for that, and I can't disagree with all of them, but some of them, you know, you just really, I want everybody that I work with to be an educated consumer. Like, know what you're buying, know who you're buying it from. Don't just take it for face value, because you don't know exactly what's behind the curtain.
Yep, amen to that. And as someone in the medical field and who's had exposure to the supplement business, to the fitness gurus, to the thought leaders, couldn't agree with you more. So let's hover on that for a little bit, because I've actually been in the supplement business. You know, I created one while in medical school. I know you are as well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, you know, your company and how you face some of those challenges that come with the territory?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Right now, I'm getting bombarded by these photo ads that have a bunch of white bottles on them, and it says your label here. So they're marketing to personal trainers with a shelf product that is available for anybody to take. So what does that tell us? It tells us it's probably an inferior product, because there needs to be a certain markup there just to be a smart business person. So they got to make money. The trainers got to make money. And it's down the road here. And it's an easy way for people to get in. And I'm not suggesting anyone's wrong for doing that. But what I'm suggesting is, I didn't want to do that. Like, I would never just put my name and reputation on somebody else's stuff if I didn't know exactly what went into it. And I don't want a bunch of products. I want specific products that work for a cause. Now, because I'm a man who's closer to 60 than I am 50, I know that testosterone health is very important. And it's something that is of concern, because, as you know, men have andropause no differently than women have menopause. But men don't talk about it. We don't speak about it because we're men, you know, and this is not something we're willing to admit. We're crying. We can't get an erection. We don't have the confidence, all of these things that go along with that. And I'm not saying that it's strictly due to the aging process. There's epigenetics. There's all sorts of factors that go into this that if we focus on mindset first, you notice I put my supplement last in those 5 principles for a reason, because any supplement, and this is important for people to hear, any supplement is only as good as the lifestyle that supports it. So I created from scratch what is, in my opinion, the world's best natural T booster, master male hormone. I researched, along with a lot of smarter people than myself, the most highly bioavailable natural substances that are easy for the human body to assimilate and use and facilitate that natural cascade of hormones, as opposed to what men do in our world is they jump the shark, basically, and they go to something exogenous and synthetic. So they start injecting themselves. And I'm like, look, stop the insanity. Let's think about this for a second. If someone goes to their doctor and they have low T, let's say they're at the bottom of the totem pole, they're at 300. And their doctor finally agrees to put them on something. The first thing that people need to do is this, in my humble opinion. Like, tell your doctor, hey, doc, what if, for a second, what if I did this program where this guy's teaching me mindset, meals, movement, puts me in a community, and then he's got this really good supplement that actually has all of the researched ingredients to efficacious levels, and the ingredients are nanotized, so it passes, it hits the receptors that it needs to hit, passes the blood-brain barrier, all of the things that need to happen, so you don't just pass it through your body. This product works, but I don't ever sell it to somebody unless they're willing to adopt the other 4 lifestyle principles that I speak of. So if you're talking to your doctor and you say all this, and the doctor goes, nah, just take the shot, I highly question their ethics, their education, their understanding of what's actually happening, and more importantly, what's possible with the human body. Because I've seen it time and time again. I got an email today of a guy who, these are verified through doctors, like blood work, because I'm a blood work guy. Everything I tell my guys, go get your blood done. Go get your blood done. I'm not throwing spaghetti at a wall hoping something sticks. And from their blood, the guy today, and excuse me if the numbers aren't exact, went from 198 to 520 something. in just a few months. Now that's moving the needle huge. And I know that's hard to believe, but I didn't come up with that. The guy messaged me and said, my doctor told me the only thing I did different was your program, Clark.
Yeah.
And I've got multiple. I got A-list celebrities telling me this stuff, man. It works. So let's look back to the human body and how amazing it is. People just don't give it enough time, enough credit, enough resources, like enough input and enough opportunity to change, man. I'm getting excited now.
No, I am too. I'm super passionate about this. And although I can't give my medical opinion on specific supplements, I will talk for a second about how this does tie into entrepreneurship and how relevant this is to the people listening. And this applies to women too. So one, supplements work. I'm a huge believer in supplements, but they are exactly what they say. They're a supplement to the lifestyle. If you're trying to boost your testosterone at 60 and you're obese, the first thing you should do to boost your testosterone is drop some fat and start exercising. In addition to that, highly believe in supplements. There's also a reason that doctors are very skeptical with supplements, and that's the same reason that you mentioned earlier. Slap your label on this and call it a day with no regulations, no one checking it. So you really have to find the right stuff, the right stuff that's closely monitored, third-party tested, lab tested. He's celebrating over here. But I'm with you, man. And if you're over 50 and your testosterone starts to drop, I believe into your 30s, your levels peak out and start to head down. That's your energy levels heading down with it. And if you're going to compete with other entrepreneurs, other people who are high performers, performing at a high level nonstop, you really need to think about this. And I know, like you said, as men, we're tough. We don't want to think our health is ever an issue, that we need to be doing things to stay on the top of our game. But there absolutely is. And anyone who asks me for supplement advice, there is no blanket statement. And I don't have specific supplements. Supplements should be given to people for specific causes, just like you said. With that being said, do your research into whatever supplements you're taking, and I'm going to leave my supplement advice there for you. But Clark, amazing stuff. Going into a period of your life when your energy levels should start to dwindle, your lean muscle mass should start to peak and then eventually stumble down. What is this group, and how can it help people, maintain that life or turn things around? Is it a high performance group where you have people who are like yourself, like ex-Marines, super into it, or what kind of people do you attract and like to work with?
I have men who have put themselves on the back burner, regardless of whatever their professional choices have been throughout the years. I've got truck drivers, I've got military guys, I've got CEOs, I've got A-list celebrities, I've got plumbers, I've got unemployed guys, I've got depressed guys, I've got extremely obese. But what I have are men who have realized that because they put themselves on the back burner for whatever reason, like I've got guys that have achieved every possible financial dream they could ever have, the house, the car, the third or fourth young wife, all of it. But they look at me and they go, dude, you have something that I want. I want a body like that. I mean, I just today had I wish I could say this person's name because everybody would know who he is. But he's like, bro, if I can get half of what you have, and I'm like, I can help you. And it's not like I've invented this stuff. That's the thing. Like, I didn't invent mindset. I didn't invent eating right or moving right or putting people in a community. They've been doing this for decades and decades and decades. Some of the most successful organizations, AA, NA, churches, are community-based. That's what they thrive on, like people being around people. This world is trying to isolate us right now. So I've got everybody. And what the common denominator is the men who join my group have been able to look at themselves in a mirror and go, it's time for me. It's time for me. And this is not selfish. This is me realizing that I need to be my best version of myself so I can play with my grandkids, because we're at that stage, and you'll be at that stage faster than you know it, Jay. And everybody else listening, regardless of what they do, you talked about being, and I'm going to wrap this up here for you because I know you want to end this, but you talked about being efficient in business. Look, I've gone to all of the meetings. I've been around some of the most high-level entrepreneurs who got more money than I'll ever think about money having. But when I walk in the room, it stops. They look at me. They're like, it's not just this energy. It's the energy that just comes out of me because I realize this. Like, I do stuff that people want to do. I carry myself in a way that is confident because I know how capable I am. I know what the work I put in. I know that the words coming out of my mouth are not these empty words that I rehearsed or someone taught me to say, or these are the buzzwords. It's real life, man. And people recognize real. They see authenticity. And when I walk in, they're like, damn, who is this dude? And I'm not being arrogant. What I'm telling you is just my experience. I walked into a room of badass men the other day, and everyone stopped. And these kids were 23, 24 years old. And two of them said, man, if I have the energy that you have, not when I'm your age, but like right now, I would feel great. I'm like, wow, this is the world that we're living in. People need to wake up. You know, you'll make more money than you've ever made. You'll be able to work longer than you've ever wanted, man. Trust me, this is the one thing that people miss in entrepreneurship is really being the CEO of your body, man.
You get one vessel. I couldn't agree with you more. I used to play professional sports. This is something that's a priority to me. And for anyone listening, you need to, implement this into your life. And I don't look like you when I walk into a room, but it's all about feeling good and having good energy. And I can tell, obviously, you've perfected that over the years, and people should look up to you and really take note. I do have one more important question that I'm super curious about, and that is, obviously, I know you have your nanotest product that you sell, but what is your business model? How have you navigated it? How have you found your niche in the fitness community? What is it that you do? Because I know you said that you train for free, so talk to me a bit about that.
So that is it right there, and this is something I want people to understand. Like, I was talking to Joe Polish the other day. I was on a Zoom call with Metal Men. It's a fantastic group of high level guys. And I was one of the speakers, and Joe Polish is the one who introduced me to the group. I don't know if you know Joe, but one of the best marketers on planet Earth. And he came up with an ad campaign that I appeared in back in the late 90s. So anyway, I was explaining what I do, and I was explaining it this morning to the manager of this A-list celebrity that I'm working with. And I said, you know what happened? I stopped trying. Like, I stopped trying to force my business. I failed at so many things because I tried to force like the thing, the system, the way, the vehicle that was going to get me there. And I was really kind of overlooking what would get them there, my customer. And I don't even like calling these guys in my group my customer because they're not. They're like literally my brothers, man. So I am, and this is an overused word today, I think, but I'll use it because it really describes my business model. I'm a servant leader. I am here to serve people. And this is truly coming from an authentic place. I don't ever chase a dollar. And that was the question this host asked Joe Polish when I said, I train guys for free, absolutely free. And they're like, why? Because I can. Because I want to, because it's what I'm called to do. And as I was doing this naturally, and I was being interviewed similar to a situation like this, these 5 principles just came rising out of the earth. And it was like they were presented to me, man, like the freaking, tablets. It's like they were presented. I'm like, there it is. There's the business model. I wasn't trying. I was just being me and operating in a flow. I don't grind. I hate that word grind. Get up and grind. It sounds so gross. I flow. I let it happen. And when I just let it happen, like jumping in the lazy river and moving along, it appeared to me, and it became very obvious. Clark, you're a servant leader. You're meant to help these guys because they look at you. They see you and don't have an agenda attached to it. Trust the process and it'll work. Your product will sell with, I never ask people to buy this. And you know what people do?
They ask
me how to buy this.
Yeah.
It's the most beautiful way of doing business ever created on planet Earth. I remember my dad telling me when I was a young man, he said, son, he was a cash register salesman. And I would go in and out of convenience stores and bars as I was a kid, and we'd walk out, and I remember him looking at me, and I would probably cry. He said, son, if someone gives you $10 for a service, you better give him 20 in return. Do you understand me? I said, yes, sir, I understand. And now more than ever, I understand what my dad meant when he was going in and servicing these stores, changing tape, some menial little things that were like so simple in his mind, but so hard in theirs because it was new, it was different. It was like this new machine no one had ever seen. And I realized that when people are doing fitness, they have these basic questions that are so basic to you and I, but it's so important to them. And here's what I told my team yesterday, and I'll close with this. I was sitting right here, we're on a Zoom call, and I said, guys, listen to me. If this ever becomes second nature and mundane for me, like if I don't get this excited every time I talk about our guys, somebody better smack me in my face and wake me up to the fact that I am so privileged to do what I do. And this is a blessing. This is not something that's owed to me. I am operating within full capacity of what I was created to do. And I never want to lose that excitement for the emails that I get today saying, Clark, you'll never guess what happened. Boom.
That's so powerful. I'm so happy I asked you that last question because the last 3 minutes really have been, I think, the best takeaway for anybody listening, and really how to, figure out what your business model is going to be. And I hope one day I feel about what I do the way that you feel about what you do. And I love what I do, and I'm still on my path, still on the growth. And a lot of people are in the same spot. They're still in school. They're still working on building something and figuring out what that's going to be. And no shame in that either. But that right there, what you said, that is the light at the end of the tunnel. That's what everyone should aspire for. And that's really, where you find your calling and find your flow. So Clark, thank you so much for that. And there's one last question. I'm sorry. I know I usually like to.
Oh, hey, I'll stay here all day.
Okay, good. Because this is one that I ask every guest that's on the show. This is the Mentors Collective. I strongly believe that the people and the resources that we surround ourselves with are, craft us into the leaders that we are today. I have my list, and I love to hear from you. What are name one of the top mentors or gurus that you follow and really respect, and one of the best books or resources or podcasts that you consume that you really respect?
The best book that I've ever read is right here. You'll see it's all beaten up now. It's an actual piece of decoration. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. I've read this hundreds of times over and over again. I could just look at one sentence in this thing. It's life-changing. As a Man Thinketh. I cherish this book right here. I just love this, man. It's amazing. You'll love it. And then as far as people that I listen to, I get on trends. Like I just got off of a trend of Miles Monroe. I've been listening to Miles Monroe every morning. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. Wisdom beyond it actually got a little bit eerie for me because I was on Evan Carmichael's site not too long ago, and I went down that wormhole, and I ended up on the last message that Miles Monroe spoke before his accident. And I was like, I couldn't even listen to it because I was in one of those places. So I have not listened to it yet because I can feel it inside of me right now. It's really going to impact me in a profound way because I've learned so much from just listening to this man on YouTube, man. I'm like, wow, this is insane. So now I've moved over to Simon Sinek. I'm on him now. And because leadership is important, right? And I think he's got some of the best leadership teaching available. And I love what he says often, if you've listened to him enough. He says, I'm embarrassed that I have a job. I teach people how to be authentic and caring and kind and considerate and all of these things that we should naturally be as humans. But unfortunately, we're not in business. And another thing that I think is a good takeaway for anyone, especially young, like I've had this in my mind, this picture, like I've worked for people and I've loaned my image out to people for so long. And I've seen people do business in a completely different way that I would ever do business. And I've always said, man, when I finally have my team, when I'm the guy, like I'm going to do things differently. So I always ask my team, do you feel supported? Do you feel like you can be the best version of yourself possible? And I'll go down the line. Travis, can you edit videos? Do you have everything you need, including my belief in you to do what you do? Absolutely, Clark. Absolutely. Then I go down the line. And then I listen to them, and I'm open for coaching. I'm open for this constructive criticism. I'm open to hear what I'm doing wrong. And I learned that from being married to the same woman for 32 years and having, like, the most important coach in my life right now is a marriage coach, a marriage counselor, someone who sits down here with me and my wife and looks at us both and says, you need to handle your stuff and you need to handle your stuff. That's the only way this stuff will ever be handled. So I sit there and, like, look at this and go, okay, am I supporting my wife so she can handle her stuff the best? Or am I being that guy, you know? So you've honestly caught me at a time in my life where so much is really finally, like, connecting. So you got time. And like you said, you're at your place for a reason right now. Own it, like, learn. You're a sharp guy. You've obviously done so much already, man. And you're gonna just absolutely be in that flow state of laser focused, happy movement through life quicker than you would ever realize, man. But I would love to just have you remind yourself to be aware of when you get there, because it's unfortunate that people who are driven, such as yourself, tend to overlook that place when they finally step into it. But because they're so caught up, right? We get so caught up. It's like, no, man, no. You know, that's why Eckhart Tolle's book has been such a great book for me too, The Power of Now. You know, I listened to it multiple times. So I've got a whole host of things that I listen to, but I do it in phases, right? Yeah. Whatever the last teaching leads into the next teaching, then I stay on that for a while.
Love that. And I appreciate everything you said. And I'm going to stay on alert for the, you know, that time when everything really does start to click. And I felt it at certain points, but it's exciting. And as long as I'm growing, I'm happy. And same thing for everybody listening, you know, keep growing, but stay awake, stay alert, stay conscious of where you are. And the same thing is to be said of happiness, you know, really take count and keep working toward that goal. But Clark, I mean, you're an inspiration to me. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with everybody else. I hope to be where you are one day in terms of physicality, you know, emotion, relationships. I would love to do a follow-up even on marriage, on morning routine. I would love to hear what happens at 4:30 so we can talk about that as well. But for everybody listening who wants to hear more from you, connect with you, maybe even get trained by you and fits within that category, where can they do that?
So if you're on Facebook, a lot of guys my age are not on Facebook, but if you want to get that free training, it needs to be on Facebook. It's Nanotest Performance Systems Elite Members Group. So if you just type in Nanotest, chances are it'll auto-populate and give you that page. You just request permission to join. If you want to see more about me, it's just clarkbartram.com. And then the Nanotest is nanotest.co. But all roads lead back to that page because, again, a supplement is only as good as the lifestyle that supports it. And I believe so much in that lifestyle that I make posters out of it. And I have it here to remind myself. It's on my Jeep. It's on my bike. And I told my team and I told my wife, when we get to 1 million men, I'm getting this freaking tattooed right there. Baby. Let's go.
You got to live it. You got to live what you preach. Clark, thank you so much for joining me on this one. I'm going to drop all your links in the show notes so no one has to go far to reach you. With that being said, thank you everybody who's listening to this episode. If you found this valuable, go connect with Clark. Take a screenshot, tag us on Instagram. I'll put that in the link as well. And Clark, thank you again so much.
Thank you, Jay.